Candy Montgomery appears emotionless as she takes the witness stand in October 1980. Facing a packed Texas courtroom, the once quiet suburban church mom is now a defendant in one of the most controversial trials in Texas history. Inside the historic Collin County Courthouse in McKinney, nearly 250 spectators cram into pews, reporters even perching on the balcony with eyes trained on the witness box. The atmosphere crackles with anticipation. How could a friendly housewife be accused of 41 axe blows? And what shocking twists will this trial reveal next? Candy's defense attorney, Don Crowder, wastes no time dropping a bombshell. On the trial's first day, October 20th, 1980, he stuns everyone by admitting Candy killed Betty Gore, but claiming she did it in self-defense. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Self-defense? 41 axe blows? It sounds unimaginable. Prosecutors scoff at the notion. District Attorney Tom O'Connell argues that Candy could have fled and that 41 strikes went beyond the pale of any reasonable self-defense. Jurors exchange uneasy glances, bracing for the grisly details to come. A few days into the trial, Candy herself takes a stand. The petite 30-year-old stands up, trembling slightly, and begins to recount the horror of June 13, 1980. In a halting voice, Candy admits she struck Betty repeatedly with the axe, but only, she insists, to save herself. Betty had confronted her about the affair that morning. "Are you having an affair with Alan?" And then, according to Candy, Betty snapped. Betty fetched a 3-foot axe and swung first, grazing Candy's head and slicing her toe. "She just kept coming at me," Candy testifies, voice cracking. The courtroom is dead silent except for Candy's shaky words. "I hit her and I hit her and I hit her and I hit her," she says tearfully. Some jurors avert their eyes as Candy describes blacking out in a blind frenzy while Betty's 1-year-old baby cried in the next room. Then comes the most bizarre twist of the trial. Dr. Fred Faison, a Houston psychiatrist of defense, takes the stand on October 27th. He reveals that under hypnosis, Candy recalled a childhood trauma. When she was 4 years old, she had a tantrum and was injured by broken glass, and her mother silenced her by saying "shoo" in a dramatic moment. Faison testifies that when Betty Gore uttered this during the fight, it triggered Candy's deep-seated rage, unleashing years of repressed pain. The jury and spectators are astonished. It's self-defense via psychological break, a strategy almost never seen in a murder trial. Crowder argues this explains the otherwise inexplicable overkill. The prosecution counters sharply. Perhaps Candy indeed snapped, but that doesn't excuse butchering a friend with 41 blows, far exceeding any reasonable force. The media pounces on this sensational testimony, dubbing it the hypnotism defense. Outside the courthouse, debate erupts. Is Candy a traumatized survivor fighting for her life, or a cold-blooded killer hiding behind a convenient story? Meanwhile, witnesses parade to the courtroom. Neighbors describe Candy's calm behavior right after Betty's death, how Candy coolly ate lunch with friends and even attended Bible school with the children mere hours after the killing. Police investigators detail finding blood and hair in Betty's shower, proof that Candy washed off the gore before resuming her day. Each fact sends murmurs through the audience. Candy blinks back tears as her own husband Pat and friends testify on her character, painting her as a sweet, church-going mother. But Betty's loved ones glare in disbelief. To them, Candy's actions after murder look more like a guilty cover-up than an innocent's panic. Outside the courthouse, the case becomes a media circus. TV trucks line the street. Each day, headlines blare updates about the axe murder in suburbia. Many in the public are horrified that Candy's brutal act might be excused. Letters to the editor and talk shows buzz with outrage. Could 41 axe blows ever be self-defense? Skeptics point out that Betty Gore was struck 28 times in the head. How could Candy fear for her life after the first few blows? Even Alan Gore, Betty's widower and Candy's former lover, shows up to testify looking gaunt and haunted. Alan confirms the affair, but admits he never imagined Candy capable of violence. His very presence, a reminder of Candy's betrayal, adds another layer of drama. The jury, sequestered away from news, absorbs all the testimony. They see the crime scene photos, the gore-splattered utility room, and hear the medical examiner confirm Betty was alive for 40 of the 41 blows. Some jurors wiped tears from their eyes during these graphic descriptions. Yet, through it all, Candy sits mostly stone-faced at the defense table, occasionally dabbling her eyes with tissue. Observers can't tell if she's numb with remorse or coldly detached. Public opinion has already formed a verdict. Crowds outside the courthouse's murderer at Candy whenever she's escorted in and out. Extra deputies are on hand, bracing for unrest when the trial ends. Behind closed doors, the jurors wrestle with a vexing question. Intent. Did Candy truly fear for her life in that moment? One juror later explains that they decided the number of wounds didn't prove intent, whether it was 1 gunshot or 1,000 whacks. It didn't change Candy's claim of self-defense. In the eyes of the law, if reasonable doubt exists about her intent, they must acquit. It all comes down to Candy's story versus the circumstantial evidence. And Candy, for all her faults, has stuck to her harrowing tale from day one. On the afternoon of October 29th, 1980, closing arguments conclude. The jury, 9 women and 3 men, files out to deliberate. Hours tick by. 3 hours, 4. Finally, just past sunset, the jurors return. Candy stands trembling as Judge Tom Ryan asks the verdict. In the front row, Betty's parents clutch each other's hands, bracing for what they pray is justice for their daughter. A newspaper the next morning captures the stunning verdict. Not guilty. After deliberating for a little over 3 hours, the jury acquits Candy Montgomery of murder. Gasps and cries erupt in the courtroom. Candy's eyes widen in disbelief. Then she begins to sob. She collapses into her husband Pat's arms, shaking with relief. Across the aisle, a wail of agony. Betty's mother, Bertha Pomeroy, bursts into tears. Betty's father, Bob Pomeroy, sits in stony silence before storming out of the courtroom, grief etched on his face. In the back, a few of Candy's friends smile nervously, while other spectators exchange angry, stunned looks. How could this be? The gallery erupts into chaos. Some spectators shout in rage, and as Candy is hurriedly escorted outside, a crowd swarms. The mood is ugly. Jeers of murderer, fill the air, aimed at the woman now officially deemed innocent. Candy's blank expression returns as officers hustle her through the gauntlet. She offers no response, eyes downcast amid the shouts and flashing cameras. It's a scene of bedlam on the courthouse steps. Inside, Betty's family is devastated. Bob and Bertha Pomeroy exit in tears, enveloped by relatives. Reporters press forward, and Bob Pomeroy's voice trembles with emotion as he speaks. As far as I'm concerned, justice will be served. Candy has to live with it, he says bitterly. I wouldn't say I'm happy with the verdict. We don't know what happened, and we never will. His words underscore the heartbreak. The truth of that deadly morning died with Betty, and now Candy walks free. The public backlash is immediate and intense. Newspapers across Texas run headlines expressing shock. Talk radio shows are flooded with callers decrying the verdict. To many, it feels like Candy got away with murder. Letters pour into the district attorney's office. Some outraged, some simply baffled by the jury's decision. But with the case closed, there is no appeal. Candy Montgomery cannot be tried again. She is legally free, but not free from public scorn. In the weeks after the trial, Candy's life changes forever. Under a barrage of death threats and hateful stares in her hometown, Candy and her family quietly leave Texas just 3 months later. They relocate to Georgia, hoping to disappear into anonymity. Candy even reverts to using her maiden name, Candace Wheeler, to start fresh. In 1981, the Montgomerys slip out of the spotlight entirely. Pat and Candy's marriage survived the trial, but crumbles a few years later. They divorced in 1984, unable to escape the shadow of the case. Back in Kansas, Betty Gore's parents assumed the care of the 2 little girls who lost their mother. Bob and Bertha Pomeroy adopt Betty's daughters, Elisa and Bethany, and raise them as their own. It's a bittersweet blessing. The girls are loved and safe, but they will grow up without their mother. Alan Gore, ostracized for his quick remarriage after the trial, drifts out his daughters' lives for a time, deepening the tragedy for Betty's family. An entire community is left scarred and questioning its faith in justice. And Candy? In a grimly ironic twist, the accused axe murderer pursues a career helping others cope with trauma. Over the next decade, Candy Montgomery goes back to school and becomes a mental health counselor, working with teens and adults. By the mid-1990s, reports circulate that Candy, now Candace Wheeler, is counseling others in Georgia, a fact that horrifies those who remember the case. The fact that she thought she could counsel after what she'd done still boggles me, says Betty's brother Ron. Candy lives a low-profile life and refuses all media interviews. When approached years later about the case, she responds curtly, "I'm not interested." To this day, she avoids a public eye, as if trying to bury the memory of that bloody Friday the 13th. October 1980's controversial verdict closed a legal chapter of the story, but opened a wound in the community that never fully healed. Candy Montgomery walked out of the courthouse a free woman, acquitted and unpunished, while Betty Gore was laid to rest by her grieving family. In the years since, the case has become a haunting legend, the subject of books, documentaries, and drama series, all revisiting that unsettling question. How could a woman hack her friend to death and walk away? As the credits roll on this tragic tale, we're left with the image of Betty's family, clutching each other in the courtroom, and Candy Montgomery, living an ordinary life after extraordinary violence. Was this a triumph of the justice system or a failure? In the end, the jurors rendered their verdict, but the court of public opinion is still deliberating. Did justice fail Betty Gore? If you found this story disturbing, shocking, or thought-provoking, you're not alone. Cases like this remind us how fragile life can be. Before you leave, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Quick Crime Vault, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next investigation. And tell us in the comments, what do you think really happened in this case? Your thoughts help keep these stories alive. Share this video with someone who enjoys true crime. And remember, the truth always leaves a trail. See you in the next case.